The plate in front of my mother was clean, and she was still picking at me. "Must be nice," she said, tapping the edge of the table I'd just scrubbed. "Come home from your easy job, plop down, and act like a queen because you wiped a counter." My name is Morgan Hill. I'm 35. I moved back into my mother's small ranch in Citrus Heights, California, 6 months ago when my divorce finalized. She's Margaret, 66, retired from driving a school bus and dealing with knees that hate stairs. My older brother is Roger, 37, a whirlwind of odd jobs and weekend flips who can't pass a free meal. It was Tuesday night, March 26, 2024, and I was doing what I do most nights, clearing plates, wiping sauce rings, making sure the sink didn't smell like last week. "I don't plop," I said, swiping one last streak of spaghetti sauce off the table. "I work 9 hours at the clinic, then come here, then handle your med refills, then make dinner." She snorted. "Medical billing? The computer does it." When I worked, I was up at 4 a.m. in the fog with kids screaming. The front door opened without a knock. Roger breezed in like he'd been sent a theme song, ball cap backward, talking before he was in the kitchen. "You leave me any of that sauce?" He lifted lids, made appreciative noises at the leftovers, and threw me a grin like we'd coordinated it. "You gotta be grateful, Morg. Free rent, home-cooked food." "Mom raised us right." "I paid for the groceries," I said, rinsing the sponge and setting it by the faucet, "and I pay the HOA dues and SMUD and the water and the washer, dryer rental in my name." Roger held up a hand. "We're not doing the spreadsheet thing again." "It's not a spreadsheet thing," I said. "It's the reality that the lights and hot water are on because of me." Mum's jaw set. "Don't act like a saviour." "I manage before you, and I will manage after you." Her eyes dropped to the table, perfectly clean, as if she could find dirt if she just looked hard enough. "You are not the only one who knows how to make a phone call." "I'm not acting like a saviour." My voice came out flatter than I meant. "I'm telling you what I do because you keep saying I do nothing." Roger had half a Tupperware in his hand. He leaned his hip against the counter like a guest. "Just be grateful, sis. You landed soft." "Some people don't." "I landed on my feet," I said. "There's a difference." Mum pushed back her chair, the legs scraping. She stood, steadying herself with a palm on the table, and pointed down the hall. "If you don't like it, go. Pack your things." I looked at her hand, at the line her finger made like the hallway was a runway she could send me down. We'd done versions of this dance since I was a kid. Her pride, my patience, Roger breezing in and out like weather. But something about hearing burden curled under my skin and stayed there. "I pay Maple Ridge HOA from my checking on the 1st, I said, more to myself than her. "SMUD is in my name. Citrus Heights Water is in my name. The washer and dryer are rented under me because the old set died in December." Mum's chin lifted. "I did just fine before you. I'll do just fine after." "Then say you want me here," I said quietly. "Or say you don't." "Don't twist my words," she snapped. "Pack your things." "If you don't like it, go." Roger whistled low like he'd just witnessed a game-winning shot. "Whoa! Okay, everyone relax." My hand was wet from the sponge. I put it on the edge of the sink to steady myself because I could feel my pulse in my wrist. The old clock over the stove ticked like it had been wound too tight. I could smell dish soap and the lemon cleaner I buy in bulk because it's cheaper that way. "Okay," I said. I crossed the small living room, brown couch with the dent from Mum's spot, the Afghan my aunt crocheted, the TV that never moved off game shows, and went down the hall I hadn't been told to use since I was 17. My room was still my old room, a twin bed I'd swapped for a full when I moved back, a dresser with mismatched knobs, a closet that holds more history than I'd admit. On the top shelf sat the hard-sided grey suitcase I kept after the divorce, the one I bought for a honeymoon that never happened the way we planned. I slid a chair over, climbed carefully because Mum would yell if I scuffed the wall, and dragged it down. Dust came with it. I unzipped it on the bed, the sound loud in the small room. From the doorway, Mum's voice went softer, almost confused. "Morgan, what are you doing?" "What you told me to," I said. I folded 2 pairs of work slacks, my scrub tops for Fridays when the clinic is short-staffed, the small makeup bag I barely use. I took the folder with my pay stubs and the printed receipts I keep out of habit. My toothbrush, my charger, the worn sweater I grab when the evenings get chilly here in the valley. Roger appeared over Mum's shoulder, eyebrows up. "You're not serious." I didn't say anything. The zipper moved again, teeth closing over clothes I could carry without asking anyone for help. Mum's face shifted, surprise, like she'd meant the words to bounce off me as usual, and now they were ricocheting through the house. In the kitchen, the sponge lay where I'd left it, still damp. Mum stared at the suitcase as if it might snap shut on its own. The sound of the zipper was the only thing that didn't argue back. I left while the house was quiet enough to hear the clock tick. I set my spare key on the counter next to the sponge and a folded paper towel. No note. I pulled the front door until the latch caught and didn't let it slam. Zoe answered on the second ring. "You okay?" "I'm coming over," I said, "with a suitcase." Her voice softened without changing tone. "I'll put a sheet on the couch." I drove the 10 minutes with my hazard lights of a heartbeat finally slowing somewhere on Auburn Boulevard. Zoe's apartment smelled like laundry and the candle she always burns down to a stub. She tugged the suitcase out of my hand and pointed at the couch like it was a bed in a tiny hotel. Blanket, charger by the lamp, bathroom down the hall. We didn't talk much. I fell asleep staring at a ceiling I didn't have to scrub. In the morning, Wednesday, March 27th, I woke up before my alarm, showered, pulled on clinic clothes, and started making calls from Zoe's kitchen counter while coffee dripped. First, Maple Ridge HOA. I logged in, cancelled autopay for April 1st, and printed the confirmation to a PDF. Then SMUD. I waited on hold, gave my account number, and set service at my mother's address to end that day. The rep reminded me the occupant could start a new account in their name. I said I understood. Citrus Heights Water was the same script. For both, I added a password so no one could touch anything tied to my name without it. Then the washer-dryer rental company. I ended the rental effective immediately and scheduled a pickup for the following Tuesday. They asked if someone would be home. I gave them my mother's number and Roger's, and I texted both. "Appliance pickup window Tuesday 10-2, please be home." Before I left for the clinic, I placed security freezes with the 3 credit bureaus and set alerts. I sent myself an email with all the confirmation numbers because paper gets lost and inboxes don't, at least not right away. Work was bright lights and code stacks and insurance hold music. I kept it together because numbers don't care how you feel. On my lunch break, I walked 2 blocks to the apartment complex around the corner from the ranch, Sunset Court, the brick one with the trimmed hedges I've driven past 1,000 times. I asked for a studio. Fatima at the office looked like she'd already said no to 3 people that morning. Calm, precise. "We have one available now. Month to month has a higher rate and a 30-day notice." She didn't look bored or excited. She slid a paper with the terms to me and a list. ID, last 2 pay stubs, employer contact, deposit. I opened my folder, the one I'd grabbed without thinking, and handed over the pay stubs. "I work at Mercy Creek Clinic, medical billing. I've been there 4 years. She nodded, copied my ID, picked up the phone and verified employment in a voice that never apologized for asking. "We do quiet hours, no business operation out of units, no smoking on balconies. If you have guests more than 40 nights in 60 days triggers an addendum." Her tone made it clear they'd enforce it. "I'm very boring," I said. "We like boring," she said. "Keys after payment clears." I paid first month plus deposit from my checking and a small cushion I'd kept for emergencies. She handed me a ring with 2 keys and a parking pass like I'd just passed a practical test. The studio was tiny, 1 window over the parking lot, a closet the size of a coat, a stove that looked like a toy, and a fridge that buzzed like it was trying its best. I bought a new mattress in a box from a warehouse store after work and rolled it onto the floor. At a thrift store, I found a small square table and 2 chairs that didn't match but sat steady. I ate takeout on a paper plate, and when I turned the light off, I could hear my own breathing and nothing else. Thursday was quiet. I went to work, came back to the studio, set my few things in logical places: cups above the sink, the one pan in the drawer, my toothbrush in a cup by the mirror. I called the washer company again to confirm the pickup window and forwarded the email to my mother. No response. Friday morning my phone lit up with Roger's name. I answered. "The power is off. Are you serious?" His voice had that edge he gets when he's out of jokes. "Yes," I said. "I moved out. I ended accounts in my name." "You can put utilities in your name or Mom can. You both asked me to leave." "You're going to do me like that?" He sounded more offended than surprised. "I'm done funding a home I don't live in." He hung up. 30 seconds later, my screen pinged with a photo, a bright orange paper taped to the front door, HOA letterhead across the top, heavy words you can see without zooming: notice, violation, immediate attention required. Zoe glanced over from her desk, saw my face, and didn't ask questions. "We getting breakfast burritos or what?" "Yeah," I said, saving the photo into a folder labelled House Things and sending myself a backup copy. I slid my phone face down. Burritos sounded like something you can hold that doesn't ask anything from you. Ramona called before lunch. I was at my desk, chewing a dry granola bar and trying not to stare at the orange photo in my House Things folder. "Hey, honey, it's Ramona from next door." Her voice always sounded like she was halfway through a laugh she hadn't decided to share yet. "I saw the notice on your mum's door this morning. You okay?" "I'm not living there anymore," I said. "I moved out Wednesday. I ended everything in my name." "I figured something shifted," she said. "Listen, I'm on the HOA board, you know that. The orange isn't decoration. If there's no plan by end of day, fines start ticking at midnight. Yard, sanitation, garbage odour was flagged when the power went, and we've got the garage complaints on file." She dropped her voice. "The activity in there needs to stop. It's not personal. People have Ring cameras now." A picture slid into my head. Sundays, Roger's friends circling like a block party, loud air compressor, cars jacked up, guys leaning on fenders talking big money over small parts, always just this once, always one more time. "I don't live there," I said. "Can you note that?" "I can take your name off the contact list if I have it," she said carefully. "But you know Margaret. She listed you as the household contact a while back, probably because you actually answered email." "That's done," I said. "I'll send you something in writing. I'm not trying to make this worse." "I know," Ramona said. "I like your mum. I'd like not to tow her car when the fines roll to liens." After we hung up, I opened a new email to the HOA address and CC'd Ramona. I wrote 2 sentences. "I moved out March 27th. I am not the owner or tenant of Mum's street address. Please remove my name and contact info from household contacts." Then I added the part that felt necessary. "If you need a point of contact, please use Margaret's number listed on prior correspondence." 10 minutes later, Roger's number popped up. I let it go to voicemail and listened with my thumb covering the speaker, like that made it softer. "Okay, so look," he said, voice pitched like he was negotiating down the cost of a used lawnmower. "Turn the stuff back on and I'll fix it. I'll mow, I'll handle Mum's trash, we'll sort the garage so they chill out. You know how to do the phone calls. Just flip it back for now and I'll make it right. Come on, Morg, don't be petty." Fix it. Meaning I do the unglamorous parts and he declares it done. I saved the voicemail under House Things too. At my next break, I called SMUD and Citrus Heights Water again and asked them to add notes. No changes without the account password, no address moves, no third-party reinstatement. I asked for the rep's name, jotted it in my notebook, added the date and time. When I hung up, I forwarded both calls' reference numbers to myself so I wouldn't have to repeat everything when the next person didn't see the notes. The washer-dryer rental already showed the pickup scheduled for Tuesday. I replied to the confirmation email to document that they had Margaret's and Roger's numbers for access. After work, I went back to my studio. I hadn't bought curtains yet, so the parking lot lights made a pale bar across the wall. I sliced an onion on the little counter, warmed a slick of oil in my dollar store pot, added carrots, garlic, a can of tomatoes, half a box of broth, handful of noodles. The stove clicked and then gave me blue flame like a promise. Soup for one is simple math and stirring. I leaned my hip against the counter and waited while it simmered, breathing steam and listening to the building settle. I ate at the tiny table, no TV, no chatter, just the scrape of my spoon and the far-off murmur from someone's radio 2 doors down. I put half in a jar for tomorrow and washed the pot right away because the kitchen's so small, a dirty dish feels like a roommate. My phone stayed face down except to set my alarm. No texts from Mum. Nothing but the earlier orange photo and Roger's voicemail living in that folder on my home screen like a bright corner of a mess I'd stepped away from. It was close to 9 when the pounding started. Not a knock, flat-palmed, impatient, the kind that makes drywall seem thinner. I froze for a second, and then my body moved before my brain did. I killed the light, crossed the 3 steps to the door and looked through the peephole. Ball cap, brim low, the shadow of a jaw I know like my own hands. Roger. "Morgan," he said, too loud for the hall. "Open up." I didn't undo the chain. I didn't touch the deadbolt. I didn't say his name through the door, because saying it invites argument. My palms went slick. I backed up, found my phone on the table by touch, and scrolled to the office number Fatima had written on my lease packet. The after-hours message said to press 2 for on-site assistance. I pressed 2. While it rang, I pulled up the non-emergency number I'd saved, after Zoe told me everyone should have it. My chest felt tight, but my voice came out clear when a dispatcher answered. "Hi," I said, eyes still on the peephole, watching my brother's hat fill the fisheye circle. "My name is Morgan. I live at Sunset Court Apartments. Someone is banging on my door and refusing to leave." "I'm not opening it." The dispatcher asked for the basics. I gave my name, the address, that the person outside was my brother, that I wasn't letting him in, that there were no threats, just pounding and yelling. She asked if I felt safe where I was. "Door is locked, chain on," I said. She gave me an incident number and said a patrol would swing through. Before I hung up, footsteps came up the stairs. A knock, measured, not a fist, sounded on my doorframe. "Morgan!" Fatima's voice carried like a level in a toolbox. "It's Fatima from the office." I opened the door just to the chain and saw her in the hall, arms loose at her sides. She didn't fill space. She steadied it. She glanced at Roger without giving him all of her attention. "Sir," she said, even and clear, "you're not a resident. You need to leave. If you refuse, I will ask the responding officer to issue a trespass notice." Roger's mouth twisted. "It's my sister." "And this is my building," she said. "We don't do scenes in the hallway." He tipped his cap like that could make it charming. "You're dramatic, Morg," he said toward the door. "We could have talked like adults." I didn't answer. Fatima's eyebrow barely moved. The stairwell door opened at the bottom with the hollow thump of metal, voices drifted, and that was enough. Roger stomped down the stairs, muttering, the words I caught not worth holding in my head. Fatima waited until the stairwell door closed. She looked at me, then at the chain. "You okay?" "Yes," I said. My voice reminded me my body was still on high alert. "Thank you." "If he comes back tonight, call us again," she said, "and if you want to put him on a formal no trespass, we can start that at the office tomorrow." She slid a card under the chain, nodded once, and left as quietly as she came. 2 minutes later, red and blue bounced off the window. A patrol car rolled the lot. I took a breath I didn't have to count and texted Zoe. He left. All good. She sent a single thumbs up and a heart, the kind that doesn't beg for a recap. Saturday morning, my phone buzzed with Ramona's name. She'd forwarded an email sent to household contact M. Hill at the ranch address and my old email. Morning, she wrote under the forwarded block. Open board meeting Monday at 6 p.m. Compliance on your mum's address is on the agenda. Do you want your name removed from the agenda copy? Also, you may want to come say you don't live there, so we stop emailing you. She added a line I could hear her voice in. I'm not trying to be nosy. This is me being neighbourly. I replied, please remove my name wherever you can. I'll come to say it on the record. Between laundry and a run to pick up a second-hand lamp, I reread the meeting notice. Agenda item 5 was Compliance Ongoing Violations, with my mother's address listed among 3 others. It was stamped April 1st, 6 p.m, Maple Ridge Clubhouse. Monday after work, I drove back into the neighbourhood I'd slipped out of 4 nights earlier. The clubhouse was the low building by the pool where we'd had potlucks once upon a time. The smell of chlorine and copier paper met me at the door. Inside, folding chairs faced a long table where 3 board members sat. Ramona was in the middle, hair pulled back, a stack of printed agendas at her elbow. A man in a polo at the end with a clipboard introduced himself to the room before they started. Zander Zimmerman Compliance. Residents trickled in with the same kind of energy we all bring to jury duty. I took a seat in the back. When they reached compliance, Zander read without heat. Property on Sycamore, he said, glancing at his sheet. Owner on file, Margaret Hill. Unpaid HOA dues as of April 1st. Yard maintenance violation. Overgrown grass and weeds documented March 25th and March 30th. Sanitation complaint called in March 29 due to odour associated with power outage. Garage usage complaints, multiple reports of unauthorised commercial activity and increased traffic on Sundays. Ramona's eyes flicked up, met mine, not accusatory, just taking attendance. Roger slid in late, a scrape of chair and a breath like he'd run a block. He looked around, spotted me, and gave a headshake that tried for wounded and landed on annoyed. Zander continued. We sent a 30-day warning on the garage issue last month. The next step is fines and, if activity continues, suspension of common area privileges. This includes use of the garage under 8.4.2. Dues unpaid triggers, late fees, and if unresolved, lien. The sanitation item needs immediate resolution to avoid further fines. When they opened the floor to the parties, Roger jumped like the buzzer had hit. She turned everything off, he said, jabbing a thumb at me. Utilities, all of it. That's why there's a smell. She's being petty. I rose only enough to be seen. I don't live there, I said. I moved out Wednesday. The utilities were in my name. I ended my accounts. I emailed last week asking to remove me from contact. Ramona tapped some papers. I have that email, she said, mostly for the minutes. Zander looked at me, then at his list. We will update the household contact when the owner confirms, he said, tone that same procedural line he'd used all night. These notices and fines are the owner's responsibility. Roger leaned forward. So, what? You're going to let us drown because she's mad? We need a little time. You're already on the clock, Zander said. We need a plan by Friday or the fines double. Yard cut, trash remediated, garage use stopped unless it's parking a car. Payment plan can be discussed with the office for dues arrears. Eyes slid to me like I had a switchboard in my purse. Old habit. I shook my head. Not my plan, I said. I'm not the owner or the tenant. A murmur ran through the chairs, the hush that follows when someone refuses the job everyone assumed they would do. Roger slumped back, muttering, "We'll see about that," like he could conjure the old arrangement by saying it. I sat with my hands on my knees, breathing like my lungs belonged to me, and let the room realise I meant it. I went back to my studio after the meeting and didn't turn on the TV. I pulled the small table against the wall, opened my laptop, and wrote what I meant. 1 page, no fluff. I titled it How I Can Help and made bullet points because that's how my brain calms down. Requests in writing with at least 24 hours notice, unless it's an emergency. Respectful language, no yelling, no insults. If it gets ugly, I leave. Clear contributions from both Mom and Roger, money, time or both, described up front. No surprise drop-ins at my apartment. Meetups scheduled and confirmed. I don't reopen any accounts in my name. I'll help make calls if you're present and participating. At the bottom, a line for both of their signatures, names printed, date. I exported it to a PDF and wrote a short email to Mum's inbox and our group text for good measure. I mean this. I want a healthy relationship. This is the only way I can be involved. I hit send and watched the status bars do nothing because that's how phones hide time passing. The group text lit up a minute later. Roger. Laughing faces, a crown emoji, a gif of a judge banging a gavel. We doing contracts now? Okay, Lawyer Morgan. Then, just help Mum this week and we'll talk. I muted the thread. I set my phone face down and took a shower hot enough to fog the mirror, then went to bed with the window cracked to the sound of cars humming past. Tuesday morning I was in the clinic by 8. At 9:15 my phone buzzed with an unknown number. The delivery driver from the appliance company. We're at the address for the washer-dryer pickup. Is someone going to let us in? I'm not there, I said. The contact numbers on file are Margaret and Roger Hill. I gave both. Can you call them? We tried both. No answer. I sighed. Try again in 5. I'll text them. I sent a message to both. The truck is there now. They need access. Please open the garage door. 5 minutes later, the driver texted back. Got in. Pulling the units now. An hour after that, I got an automated email. Pickup complete. Assets recovered. Account closed. I forwarded it to myself and slid it into the House Things folder. At lunch, Zoe met me at the coffee shop at the corner. She handed me a latte and didn't make me start at the beginning. I wrote an agreement, I said. Like a contract. Roger thinks it's funny. Of course he does, she said, tearing a muffin in half. Contracts mean consequences. He likes handshakes and vibes. I put no drop-ins. I took a sip and let the heat sit in my chest. If they want rides or groceries or anything, they have to ask nicely and put skin in the game. You're allowed to make your life small and sane, she said. You don't have to explain no like it's a thesis. It still feels mean. It's not mean, she said. It's basic adulting. If they want your help, respect is the price of admission. Back at my desk, I sent 2 refill requests to Blue Shield, answered a patient portal message, and didn't look at my phone until it buzzed at 5. Mom, I answered. Her voice was soft, words tight. Just this once, can you do a grocery run? We don't have to involve Roger. It's been a week. I looked at my calendar like it could tell me how to be a daughter. I meant what I sent, I said. I need both signatures. The house runs on both of you. This only works if it's all of us. I'm not asking for a speech, she said, the edge coming in. I'm asking for bread, milk and eggs. My knees hurt. The fridge. She stopped. The silence was a kind of accusation. I'll help when we all agree to how it works, I said. I'll even drive over a printed copy so it's easy. But I need both signatures. She hung up without saying goodbye. A minute later, a photo came through. The open fridge, light off, shelves streaked with something that used to be food. A caption, "This is the daughter I raised." I held the phone like it might burn a hole in my hand and then put it down on the table. I did not answer right away. I boiled water for pasta I already had and ate standing up, staring at the potted plant I'd bought because it looks alive, whether I remember to water it or not. An hour passed. I washed the bowl and set it to dry. The sun slid behind the building and left a square of the parking lot glowing like a stage. My phone chirped again. "Mum, we're coming over to talk." I stared at the words. No question mark. As if my door were still hers. As if my address was an extension of her hallway. I typed and erased twice. Then I put the phone down, grabbed the folder with the printed agreement and slid my shoes on. If they were coming, we were not doing it in my living room. I texted back, "Meet me in the lobby." "Do not come upstairs." Then I called the office. "It's Morgan in 2B, I told whoever picked up. "My family is coming by. We'll meet in the lobby only." Fatima's voice came on the line like she'd been handed the phone. "Understood," she said. "I'll be nearby." I put the printed agreement in a manila folder with the stack I've been dragging around for months. Receipts for Maple Ridge HOA dues, SMUD bills, Citrus Heights water, grocery totals. I'd highlighted dates and amounts last week when I was angry and needed my hands to do something. They arrived 5 minutes apart, Roger first faster, like he was trying to beat an invisible clock. Mum came after, careful down the steps, face tight, hair brushed like a shield. Roger moved to angle past me toward the stairwell out of habit. "We're not doing this in a lobby," he said. "We are," I said. "This is my home. These are the rules." The office door opened and Fatima stepped out. She didn't say hello, didn't introduce herself again. She just stood where the hallway narrowed enough that a person had to decide if they were going to try and make it a problem. "We'll talk right here," I said. Mum glanced around at the beige chairs, the bulletin board with laminated building rules, the plant in the corner that never dies. "You couldn't just come to the house?" she asked. "You told me to pack my things," I said. I pulled the folder open and handed her the top stack. "This is what I paid this past year. HOA on the 1st of every month, SMUD when it posted, water every other month, groceries when you texted me a list." She took the papers with a little flinch, like they might be hot. The neon yellow highlighter wasn't subtle. Dates, amounts, check marks next to paid. Her eyes scanned, then snagged on numbers she'd never had to look at. Roger peered over her shoulder and snorted. "You gonna invoice your own mum?" "This isn't an invoice," I said. "It's the record. I'm not doing any of it again without respect and a plan we all sign." I slid the one-page agreement out and put it on top. He laughed for real then, the sound bouncing off the lobby tile. "Come on, you think you're a boss now? We need bread, not bureaucracy." Mum's mouth pinched at the word boss. She kept reading anyway. Her finger ran under the line that said no surprise drop-ins. "So we have to make appointments to see our own daughter?" "We have to make appointments to ask for help," I said. "We can meet for pancakes or sit on your porch whenever if it's respectful, but errands and bills and rides go on a schedule with both of you involved." "So if I sell my tools," Roger said, seizing the part that made him sound generous, "we'll cover the fines, the garage will make the money back anyway once this calms down. It's a temporary ban." They always overreact. Fatima's eyes flicked to the bulletin board behind him and back. She didn't speak, but her chin tilted at a printed sheet under community rules. No business operations in units or common areas, no vehicle maintenance on premises, no commercial use of parking or storage spaces. I let the silence extend just long enough for Mum to follow the glance and read. She blinked. "No commercial use," she read out loud. Quiet. Her eyes went from the rules to the receipts to Roger. Something small shifted behind them. "This isn't my building," Roger said, jabbing a finger at the paper. "This is hers. Our garage is our business." "Our garage is in a community with rules," I said. "You heard Zander last night. The HOA's got it in black and white." He tossed a hand. "Zander can kick rocks." Mum's voice cut in, sharper. "The fine's double Friday," she said, repeating it like she was trying it on. "That's in black and white too." I nodded. "Here's the deal." I tapped the agreement. "Sign this, both of you, and then text me a list. I'll schedule a grocery run with your card, Mum, and we can talk about a plan for dues with Ramona. I'll even sit with you to call Simard in the water to set up accounts in your names, but I'm not reopening anything in mine. And I'm not stepping foot in the garage if people are working out of it. Mum slid the agreement back and forth under her palm, thinking. Roger rocked on his heels like if he kept moving, this would all slide off. This feels cold, Mum said finally, but her voice had lost some of its sting. You putting rules on family? I'm putting rules on myself, I said, so I don't drown. Fatima didn't say a word, but she might as well have been a wall. When Roger tried to inch toward the stairwell again, she shifted one foot and the hallway got smaller. Mum exhaled through her nose. Leave the papers, she said. I'll read them without him buzzing in my ear. Roger huffed. You're really doing this, over some bills. Over respect, I said. He rolled his eyes, pushing off the idea like a bad jacket. I'll move some rims this week. We can make back the fine. Don't be dramatic. Selling car parts isn't a plan, I said. It's a bandage. The board is watching the garage. He glanced at the rules sheet again out of the corner of his eye, then away fast, like it might catch him looking. We didn't hug. We didn't schedule anything. They left with the folder, and the air felt a size bigger. Back upstairs, I put my keys in their spot and sat on the edge of the bed, listening to the hum of my own fridge. My phone buzzed. Ramona. Emergency HOA hearing tomorrow at 5:30. Your name is on the agenda. Do you want it removed? Yes, I typed. I don't live there. Please remove me. I'll attend to say it out loud if needed. She replied with a thumbs up and, got it. See you tomorrow. Bring that spine you had Monday. I smiled without meaning to, then put my phone face down and set my alarm. Respect first. Everything else could wait until morning. Wednesday at 5:20, I parked by the clubhouse again. The pool looked colder than Monday, the water still under a grey sky. I walked in with my hands empty on purpose. I wasn't here to juggle anybody else's mess. Ramona waved me to a seat and handed over an agenda with my mother's address, printed neat as a label under emergency compliance. Xander was in the same polo, clipboard thicker this time. The room had fewer bodies, but more tension. People leaned forward like they'd missed a turn and needed to reroute. They got to Margaret's address in 5 minutes. Xander didn't look at me. He looked at his notes. Property on Sycamore, he said. Since March 27th, unpaid dues. Yard maintenance violations documented on the 25th and the 30th. Sanitation complaint received March 29th regarding odour associated with utility shutoff. Multiple neighbour reports of garage activity consistent with commercial work, including vehicle lifts and increased traffic on Sundays, prior warning on file from March. He placed a copy of the warning on the table for the record. Ramona slid it into a folder, eyes neutral. I'm here, I said, standing just enough to be seen. I don't live at that property. I moved out last Wednesday. The utilities were in my name. I ended my accounts, removed my name from all contacts. The owner is Margaret Hill. Ramona lifted a sheet. I have her email from Friday requesting removal. We'll update the list. Roger burst in like he'd been waiting for his cue, went straight to the front without finding a chair. She turned everything off, he said, pointing at me like the room didn't already know. She yanked the washer and dryer, shut the power, and then there's a smell because of her. And the garage stuff? That was me trying to cover fines because she bailed. I had to hustle. Xander kept his tone level. The garage warning is dated March 1st. That's before March 27. Ramona cleared her throat gently. We fielded complaints about Sunday traffic for months, she said. Dates here. February 11th, 1825, March 3rd, 1017, all before utilities were shut off. You've had, 8 guys in and out most weekends? Air compressor? That's not hustling after. That's been happening. Roger's mouth flattened. We're not hurting anyone. You're violating the governing documents, Xander said. No commercial use of a garage, no mechanical work, no excessive noise. We're past warnings. He went on. Here are the options. Yard cut by Friday, sanitation issue resolved immediately. Trash hauled, fridge cleaned, any spoiled items removed. Garage activity stops now. Door stays down except for ingress to egress of a vehicle. Dues, either paid or on a written payment plan by the 5th. If not, fines double Friday and continue daily. Unpaid assessments can result in a lien. Continued non-compliance on the garage can result in suspension of amenity privileges and legal action to enforce use restrictions. The word lien landed like a dropped wrench. Even Roger didn't have a quip for that. I stood enough to speak to the board, not to my family. I'm not the owner or the tenant. If my mother and brother speak to me with respect and agree in writing to share responsibility, I'll help make calls and outline a plan. Otherwise, please remove me from all lists. I won't be the default contact. There was a shuffle of paper, people pretending to look at their own agendas to avoid being caught watching a family negotiate in public. Roger tried again. If she turns the stuff back on just for this week. I won't, I said. My accounts are closed. He spread his hands. So what, we drown. That's the plan. Ramona didn't smile, didn't frown. The plan is to own your choices, she said. We all have to do it. It wasn't a speech. It was a neighbour offering the only rope available, responsibility. For the first time since Monday, Mum spoke. Her voice came from the second row where she'd been small in a big chair. I'm sorry I called you a burden, she said. The quiet made everyone hear it. We will handle our home. She reached into her purse and pulled out a single sheet, the one I'd left in the lobby. It had a coffee ring and a fold line down the centre. She put it on Ramona's table, but her eyes were on me. I read it, she said, and the words weren't soft, they were shaped. I'll sign if it gets you to help without you drowning. Ramona slid a pen across. Mum signed her name like it cost something and was worth it. Roger looked at the page like it might bite him, then dragged the pen hard, first name jagged, last name barely more than a line, like pulling a splinter out. Xander nodded, already pivoting to procedure. We will expect confirmation of utility accounts in the owner's name by Monday, evidence of yard service by Friday, and no further garage reports. Payment plan inquiries can be made with the office tomorrow morning. They closed the item, moved on to somebody else's fence paint colour that wasn't slate approved. Chairs scraped, people stood. The meeting dissolved into side conversations about fines and weather. Outside, the air smelled like wet bark. The pool lights came on blue. Mum walked up to me on the sidewalk and put the signed paper in my hand like a receipt. Do you still mean it? She asked. If we ask like this? I do, I said. My voice was steady. Text me a list tonight. We'll start with groceries on your card tomorrow after work. Then we'll call ESMA together. We'll put the water in your name. We'll set a yard service for a month and find something sustainable after that. She nodded once, eyes on the ground, the agreement heavy in both of our hands. Roger kicked a pebble toward the curb. Garage is shut down. Happy now? I'm not happy, I said. I'm clear. He squinted like he wanted to fire off another joke and couldn't find one. Whatever, I'll figure it out. He shoved his hands in his pockets and walked toward his truck. Mum looked at me the way she used to look at road signs when she was driving us to school in the dark, checking she was going the right way. Tomorrow, she said. Tomorrow, I said back. I folded the paper and slid it into my bag. Respect first. The rest was line items and dates, and those I know how to handle. Thursday after work, I pulled into the parking lot at the small grocery on Greenback. Mum was already there in a blue sweater and flats, a list folded small in her hand like she didn't trust it. We didn't hug. We started with produce. Bananas not too ripe, she said, softer than Monday but not fragile. Milk, eggs, bread. Chicken thighs if they're on sale. I pushed the cart. She put things in without apologising. At the register she pulled her card out and I didn't reach for mine. When the total flashed, she winced and then signed, and I bagged while she steadied herself on the counter. In the parking lot, I set the bags in her trunk and handed her the receipt. In the morning, I said, I'll drive over and we'll call Smud and the water together. You can be on speaker and I'll coach, or I'll talk and you listen. Your choice. She nodded. We'll do it in the kitchen, she said, like that mattered. Also, I said, pulling out my phone, I put 2 physical therapy rides on my calendar, next Tuesday at 10, the following Thursday at 2. I'll text you the reminders. She blinked like I'd just handed her something unexpected and careful. Thank you, she said, and the please and thank you landed like gentle bells. Back at my studio, I logged into my building portal and set rent to autopay on the 1st. 1 autopay, 1 home. I put the new grocery receipt in the folder with a sticky note. Margaret's card I attended. Friday morning, I met Mum at the ranch 10 minutes before 9. I didn't bring the key. She opened the door and I stayed by the table. The house smelled like lemon cleaner, an old cold, not rotten anymore. The fridge was empty and scrubbed. The trash had been hauled out. The big can at the curb was overflowing with tied bags. Roger's truck was gone, the garage door down. We opened my laptop and put her on speaker with Smud first. New service at Sycamore, owner Margaret Hill, I said. Mum read off her licence number and last 4, repeated the address twice, confirmed the meter number when the rep asked. There was a deposit, split over 3 bills. Reconnect scheduled for that afternoon, Citrus Heights water next. Different hold music, same steps. Account in my name, Mum said into the speaker, and I wrote the confirmation number on a sticky and stuck it to the outside of the folder so she could see it later. She looked at the numbers like they were anchors instead of clouds. I texted Ramona, utilities being set up now, yard by end of day, garage quiet. She wrote back, thank you. Compliance will drive by this afternoon. Your name removed from contact list. On my lunch break, a photo came through from Roger, the yard, striped and clean, no dandelions. Mowed, was all he wrote. A second photo after, a handwritten receipt from the HOA office where he'd paid half the dues with a card. Payment plan set, half now, he added, like it might hurt to type it. At 3, another text from him. Sold the extra rims, covered the fine. A picture of a folded stack of 20s I didn't need. He didn't crow. He didn't ask for applause. He just sent the evidence. By dinner time, Ramona sent a thumbs up and smell gone, thank you. Xander didn't text. He didn't have my number anymore. But an email came to Mum's inbox and she forwarded it to me with no comment. Utilities confirmed in owner's name, yard violation cleared, garage advisory still in effect. Fines paused pending continued compliance. Payment plan accepted. I ate soup at my little table and listened to the hum from the laundry room down the hall, my clothes spinning on my timeline, my quarters in the machine. Zoe texted a frying pan emoji and pancake Sunday, I wrote back. With Mum, you and me Monday. Saturday was quiet. I found a thrifted lamp with a crooked shade and a plant that looked like it would forgive me if I forgot it for a week. I watered it anyway. I took the agreement out and slid it into a plastic sleeve like something you keep in a binder when you mean it. Sunday morning, Mum called at 9. Pancakes? She asked, voice small but even. We met at the diner with the sticky menus and coffee that tastes like memory. She ordered short stack, bacon, coffee with 2 creams. I got the same because some things don't need reinventing. We talked like people, not roles. She told me about a neighbour's grandson who's learning to drive and hits the brakes like a game show buzzer. I told her about a patient who sent a thank you card to billing, which never happens. We didn't talk about the garage until the plates were nearly empty. It's closed, she said, eyes on the syrup ring she was wiping with a napkin. He's not happy, but it's closed. That's his to handle, I said. If he asks nicely and it fits the rules, I'll drive him to the swap meet to sell things. I won't stand in the garage while he works. She nodded. I know. We walked out to the parking lot where the sun made the asphalt look like glass. She put a hand on my arm. I meant the apology, she said. I was wrong. I know, I said. It didn't need a speech. It needed both of us to do what we said. Back at my studio that afternoon, I vacuumed the little rug, set the lamp on the thrifted table, and moved the plant near the window like it might find the light on its own. I threw a load of laundry in downstairs, and when it hummed, it sounded like ordinary life. Monday, S. Mudd sent me nothing, because it wasn't my account anymore. Mom texted a photo of the first bill with her name at the top and a simple handled. I hearted it. She followed with a calendar invite for PT Tuesday at 10 a.m. I accepted. Roger sent a photo midweek of the garage with boxes stacked and tools pushed to one side, the centre open, and a car actually parked inside. Fine cleared, he wrote later. No emojis, just that. I didn't move back in. I didn't ask for my key because I'd left it on the counter, and the lock was her problem to manage now. I set a budget that fit one person. I kept paying for one home. On Sunday, Mum and I met for pancakes again, and nobody raised their voice. The HOA calendar moved on to dog poop complaints and hedge heights. Xander's name showed up in nobody's inbox but theirs. Fatima nodded at me in the hallway once and said nothing, the best kind of quiet. Respect first, and if it slips, I know where the off switch is.